Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be here to meet with the Department of Procurement Services today. We appreciate your time. On behalf of Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Commissioner Jamie Rhee, we definitely want to extend our thanks to you for having an interest in not only doing business with the City of Chicago, but also getting to know our staff. We believe it will be beneficial to you to not only come to our workshops to learn about the process, but to actually learn about the people behind the scenes that make the process work as good as it does. So I won't take too much time with details about process for that reason. If you look, we have listed on the walls, we have a whole bunch of information. Outside, we have a list of workshops. Online at the DPS website, we have workshop lists. So we encourage you to continue to return for workshops where you can learn about procurement fundamentals, about doing business with the City of Chicago, if you're eligible as a historically disadvantaged business owner, how to get certified and gain opportunities that way. And we offer those workshops to you because we definitely want to develop a healthy vendor community by providing a good education for those interested in doing business with the City of Chicago. My name is, again, Terry Glavin. I'm an attorney at the Department of Procurement Services. We have a number of different units, including the legal unit at our department. And we have senior staff present here today to introduce themselves, field some questions, again, so you can get to know them. I'll save myself for last as far as what the legal unit does. First, I'd like to introduce Steve Laboda. He's a Deputy Commissioner with the Department of Procurement Services.
I'm Steve Laboda, and I'm the Deputy Procurement Officer over Finance, Information Technology, and Salvage Operations. So in my role, over the Finance section of our department, we handle all the billing, all the payments of invoices, expediting of grants, all the financial related issues, and all the receiving of goods. And then in the IT role, which I'll let Ben Ho down here expound on later, as he's also a deputy in that unit. It's where we handle all the ITs, most importantly our new e-procurement and modernization of all our processes. E-procurement's a fully digital way for people now to place bids that it expedites the entire auction process. It's more transparent, and we hope it'll be better for all the bidders. Vendors can now track payments online and see what's going on with purchase orders, where before it was just a very paper-intensive process. Now it's becoming more and more digital. Hopefully by the end of next year it'll be completely implemented, but we're about 80%, 85% right now. And then my other role here is head of salvage operations, which is where we have the city's online auctions. If you're not familiar with them, we liquidate all the city's antiquated or decommissioned equipment, vehicles, materials online. The auctions run 24/7. And they run everything from vehicles, heavy equipment, scrap metal, chairs. As our Chief Procurement Officer always says, she'll sell the chair you're sitting on if you don't stay in it long enough. So those can all be found. Links to those auctions can be found on the DPS website, as well as all past auctions. So if you wanted to see what things were going for instance. But registration for the auction program, which is run by publicsurplus.com, is the auction host is free. All you have to do is contact them by email, provide some basic information, and as long as you're not a relative or a city employee, then you're welcome to bid. And there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Some of it goes pretty cheap, so we hope you come and visit.
Yeah, want to pass it maybe to Bridget? Thank you, Steve.
Hi, my name is Bridget O'Shea. I'm the compliance manager, and our unit works closely with everyone up here, the contracts division as well as the certification. Our primary role is responsible for reviewing compliance plans prior to a contract being awarded, as well as once that contract is awarded, monitoring the compliance plan, the commitments that were made, and the requirements of that contract. So that could be your MW and DBE commitments, as well as any EO requirements, CRO, which is the Chicago residency, and we also have the project area residency requirements. So we monitor that contract from once awarded to closeout. We're responsible also for ensuring that contract payments are reported and confirmed by both prime and subcontractor. We review for discrepancies. And we also have our field analysts that conduct site visits. And their primary role is to assess a commercially useful function as well as EEO and any of the requirements of the contract. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to everyone to this workshop. My name is Habib Rahman. I'm Assistant Procurement Officer in Aviation Unit. Aviation Unit is responsible for all types of contracts: construction, professional services, A&E design, and reference contracts, non-competitive procurement. All of our projects on this buying plan. And we always appreciate more and more bidders, and we always appreciate as many as you can bid on our projects. We can get better price, more bidders, more price, better price. So we will be appreciating if you are bidding on our projects. My telephone number is, for more further discussion, my telephone number is 312-744-4915. And again, our projects are on our city's website and aviation websites also. We have new program which is called Hero 21 TAP projects. They consist of construction projects, construction management, RFQs. And if you are not bidding as prime, you can take part in all those contracts as a subcontractor. If you are certified MBWB firms, more good for us and for you also, because there's a lot of opportunities for these projects. There's quite a lot of money on those. Any further discussion and details, please call me. I will explain in depth each and every project. Thank you so much for coming over here. Have a nice evening.
Thank you all for coming to the workshop. My name is John O'Brien. I'm Deputy Procurement Officer, and I'm primarily responsible for 3 units. One is professional services, all of the non-aviation consulting contracts, and also the non-construction consulting agreements, all of the architecture, engineering, construction management that support our construction program. That is with our construction unit, and we have Ed Anderson here that will give you a little bit of background on that. So professional services, that's the wide range of non-construction areas, primarily information technology, financial services, human resource, planning and development, anything from A to Z. It could be a project for city clerk, the treasurer's office. So we handle a wide range. And the process we use is typically we'll advertise and post on our website what's called an RFP, a request for proposal. And that selection is based on various evaluation criterion. A lot of times you think when you're bidding with the city, it's the lowest responsible bidder meeting city specifications would be recommended for award of the contract. That would be true for, a lot of our goods, services, construction. But if we're seeking to engage a consultant through an RFP, we're looking at criteria beyond just price, which can be negotiated. We're looking primarily at the qualifications of the firm, the team. We're looking at MBWBE utilization. If it's a federally funded project, it could be DBE, disadvantaged business goals. So there's a lot of evaluation criterion. And another method that we use for professional services would be an RFQ request for qualifications, and that would be common where we're looking to pre-qualify firms and award what we call master consulting agreements. And so we would have a pool of pre-qualified consultants, and as a department would identify a specific project and the budget for that project, they would issue what's called a task order. Task order would be individual projects, and it could be anything from architecture, engineering, design, construction management. It could be to do an audit, the wide multitude. So basically, you're competing among firms that are in the pre-qualified pool, whereas an RFP that I described before would be more for a specific project, and you wouldn't necessarily be pre-qualifying multiple firms to compete. So that's professional services. The other unit is vehicle heavy equipment. So when you think about the city fleet, our client department is fleet facility management, and this is a very large area. It covers everything from police, squad cars, to fire department, their fire apparatus, to all of the heavy equipment, machinery rental that supports our construction program. So the vehicle heavy equipment unit, they're responsible for specifications to purchase new equipment, or it could be for rental or lease of equipment. And for vehicle heavy equipment, you're not going to see a request for proposal or a request for qualifications. It's more what we call a competitive bid process. And award for vehicle heavy equipment bids would be the lowest responsible bidder meeting city specifications. And if you would be bidding with the city, you want to be very careful to read the instructions of the solicitation. I would also encourage you, for every bid or RFP, RFQ, we have what's called pre-submittal conferences, pre-bid conferences, which is an opportunity for you to meet the city officials from the lead department, plus our staff, and it's an opportunity for you to get clarification of the specifications, and it's basically a Q&A session. So that's the second unit I'm responsible for. The third unit would be what we call work services, and that would be the full gamut of, think in terms of all of the parts and service contracts or repair maintenance contracts that we have. And it can be, the city owns, leases, rents. We have over 600 facilities. So anything from HVAC to, if it's water management, it could be for repair of, piping, water plant. It could be, fountain repair. It could be the full gamut, anything equipment, facilities, repair. Those would be work service type contracts. And once again, those would be a competitive bid process. So a specification would be advertised, and you would be bidding, and once again, low bid, meeting city specifications if you're, the lowest responsible bidder. So that's an overview of the three units that I handle. Just want to make a comment. I don't know that it was mentioned, but those of you that are interested in finding out about bid opportunities, on our website, there's a buying plan, which is a forecast of planned projects for not only all of the city departments, but our sister agencies are listed there. And it gives a forecast for the next 12 to 15 months, and it's by quarter. And you can kind of put on your calendar if you see something that's in your area of specialty or that you think you might be interested in, and be looking for that to be advertised within that quarter. If you're signed up for DPS alerts, you'll get the electronic email notification. So we highly recommend that you do that if you're interested in learning what the future bid opportunities are. Feel free to ask any questions at the end of the presentations, and I'll pass the mic.
Good afternoon. I'm Victoria Wright. I'm a Senior Certification Officer in Procurement Services. I deal with MBE, which is Minority Business Enterprise, WBE, which is Women Business Enterprise, DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, ACDBE, which is Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and BEPD, which is Business Enterprise for People with Disabilities. And soon the city will be rolling out a veterans certification program. So right now the city does reciprocal certification. So if you get certified with the city of Chicago, you can also use that letter with Cook County and vice versa. So if you go to the county to get your certification, the city of Chicago will accept the county certification. We only accept either the city certification or the county certification. And basically, MBE, WBE, BEPD, and soon VBE are all local programs, and it's locally funded. DBE and ACDBE are projects that are usually federally funded. You need ACDBE if you want to be a concession at the airport. Most or the majority of contracts that come out of the airport have a DBE set aside. You do not have to be certified to bid on a contract, but if you are certified, it allows you to work as a sub. The fee for certification is $250. That certification is good for 5 years. After 5 years, you do have to recertify, but each year in between, you have to do a no change affidavit, which is free. It's basically just a document that lets us know that nothing in your company has changed. If you go to our website, you can find a document checklist. There are lots of documents that have to be submitted with the application. I always try to recommend people to do the certification, when you're early in your business, maybe 6 months into a year, so that you know where everything is. Try to keep up with all your documents. I always recommend that people keep up with all of their documents every year that you're in business, because when you do the research, we're going to ask you for the same documents again. So it's best to keep up with everything. The application is now online. Everything has to be done online. You have to upload documents online. So documents have to be scanned and uploaded. We actually have an employee at Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, which is also in City Hall on the 8th floor if you need assistance with scanning documents. If it's something you don't understand on the application, you do have to make an appointment with her. She's willing to help, and she is there to help with scanning and answering questions. If you have questions about the application, you can call our office at 744-4900 and ask for a certification officer, or it's actually going to prompt you to ask you, do you want certification or compliance? The certification process can take up to 120 days if it's a new application. If it's a no change, we try to get those done within 30 to 60 days. I always tell people, don't wait until the last minute. If you see something in the buying plan that you want to bid on, try to make sure that you have already gotten your certification done. It's not going to happen overnight. So don't wait till the last minute to actually get the certification. The benefits of certification is that you can use it on your business cards, your marketing material. You can let people know that you're MBE, WBE certified, or DBE and ACDBE certified. There are lots of jobs coming up at the airport, so we've gotten a lot of DBE and ACDBE applications lately. Like I said, the application is $250. It's non-refundable. If you get denied certification, you can appeal. You can appeal the decision. What else? There are several certification officers. We also use an outside agency to help with certification applications, so we try to tell people not to panic if that happens. But all questions can come through the department, and I'm willing to take any questions today you might have about the process.
Good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Ho, Deputy Procurement Officer. I work in the area of IT, and there are 3 systems that you, as the vendor community, will encounter that are supported by the IT unit that would impact your dealings with the department. E-procurement is the biggest one of those. I will return to it shortly for a more extensive discussion. The other one is a system called C2. When you C2 stands for Certification and Compliance. If you are applying for certification, as Victoria mentioned, you are using our C2 system. If you are a current subcontractor, how many of you are current subs or primes with the city? A few of them. If you are a prime, you will be using C2 to report your compliance goals to the city. If you are a subcontractor, if you have a city contract, you will be verifying that the compliance information provided by the prime is correct within the C2 system. If you are currently not on contract with the city, then the C2 system is something you should know about in case you should ever get a contract with the city. The next system that you'll be encountering is the Online Economic Disclosure Statement, or online EDS for short. The EDS is required for all bids and all RFPs with the city, and it must be filled out online. And when you complete an online economic disclosure statement, you receive a certificate of filing. Your original document is electronically signed and resides on the city website. You do not need to print it out and send it to the city. You attach the certificate of filing with your bid or RFP package, and then the EDS is reviewed by city staff, and it may be sent back to you for correction if information is incomplete or unclear. All of that is done electronically and has been for a number of years. So those are the two systems that you'll be seeing on a day-to-day basis. E-procurement is the third and largest of the systems that you will be seeing. Right now, it's in a pilot stage, and we have various contracts that are being piloted, including the RFP that Steve alluded to earlier. We have commodities contracts and small orders contracts. Construction will be advertised within the next month or so, and then we expect the remaining contract types to be advertised in e-procurement before year's end. However, full implementation of this, meaning that all contracts going to e-procurement, would await probably next year. If you are not signed up for the city's iSupplier system, which is part of e-procurement, we would welcome you to do so to get a head start so that you can bid on things when they go e-procurement. If you have an existing city contract, if you sign up now, you can gain access to all the current contracts that you see in this that you have with the city. You will also see the orders that the departments have placed against those contracts, the invoices, the receipts that they've done, and payments on those contracts. It's very handy for understanding where your financial, where you stand financially with regards to your contracts with the city. And that is available to the existing City of Chicago vendors who already have contracts. There is a separate workshop tomorrow afternoon. We do highly encourage you to come, or if you cannot come again because you were just here today, you can watch this on YouTube tomorrow. It will be live streamed, and you can learn about the registration for e-procurement and go into more details of the benefits and how it actually works. So with that, I will turn over the mic.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks. Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today's workshop. I'm Ed Anderson, and I work in the Architecture and Engineering Unit. I'm a senior procurement specialist. We procure contracts primarily for the Department of Water Management and the Department of Transportation. Our contracts are awarded not on price, but based on the highest qualified vendor that the evaluation committee would evaluate, basically. Our architecture and engineering unit reports to Deputy Byron Whitaker.
Thank you, and I'm Deputy Byron Whitaker. In addition to the architecture, first of all, let me apologize for being a little late. I have a meeting with our client department, and also apologize in advance for leaving early because I have another meeting to go to. But anyway, in addition to the architecture and engineering services, I'm also responsible for the construction unit, the commodities unit, and a offset of the commodity unit known as the small orders unit. As Ed spoke to, and as John O'Brien spoke to, the professional service architecture and engineering unit deals with basically requirements that are more evaluated process as opposed to the competitive bid process. And so I don't want to be redundant about that, but I just want to make the distinction that those are the types of evaluated process that we deal with in terms of RFPs, RFQs for the A&E requirement. My other units are all competitive bid units where we do deal with bidding requirements out where the award is to the most responsive and responsible bidder offers the lowest quote. That is actually determined. That is actually governed by the Municipal Purchasing Act and the Municipal Code of the City of Chicago. Those are the two things that determines how we actually award contracts. In terms of the competitive bid process, basically we put out specification documents for people to look at and to bid on, and then you submit a bid on those actual line items or lump sum bid prices, and the lowest responsible, the bids are actually open in this room. Sealed bids are submitted here, and they actually are open in this room, and you know who the apparent low bidder is from the bid opening date. In terms of our construction first of all, in terms of the A&E process, there is, in our commodities process, there are also contract requirements where we specialize in terms of why would you want to be certified, because we have contracts that are specifically targeted to City of Chicago and Cook County certified firms. So they're called target market. John mentioned about our buying plan. In our buying plan, you'll see requirements that says target market. I believe they're highlighted in yellow, so you'll know that those are target market opportunities. So if you are a city certified firm or Cook County certified firm, then you would actually be able to use your, if you're certified in that area, especially that you're going out to bid, you'll be actually use your certification to bid on those requirements, and it's restricted to those certified firms. The construction no longer has what we call a target market program, but we have a sort of redefined version of a target market program that we call the Small Business Initiative. The distinction between the SBI type programs and target market program is that the SBI programs are race and gender neutral. There is no certification to be SBI. You either self-certify that you're an SBI firm, or if you're a city certified or Cook County certified firm, you're presumed to be SBI eligible. In terms of meeting SBI requirements, we have two versions of SBI. The SBI 1, where you, to be eligible, you must meet the size standard of the SBA in terms of financial situation. The SBI 2, you must meet 1/2 of the size standard of the SBA to be determined. So that's specific to construction. That's the only requirement where we have SBI eligibility. Also, in terms of construction, one of the other programs that we have that's specific to construction is what we call the job order contracting program. And basically, the job order contracting is a competitive bid requirement. And what happens is the construction firms review what we call a construction task catalogs. That is a catalog that has all the items necessary to do a construction project. And what you as a bidder would do, you would bid a factor against that construction task catalogs. In other words, you can think of it like a Sears catalog book, and it has all the construction items in it. You would look at that book and say, well, can I do the book? Can I do this work for the prices in the book? If the answer to that is yes, and you can make a profit doing it with the price in the book, you would bid a factor 1. However, if you said, well, I could do it for the prices in the book, but I also want to make some money doing this work, so and if you say I want to bid, I want to get to do make a profit of 10%, then you would bid a 1.1, because then you would have the factors covered for the work, and then the 0.1%, 0.10% for your profit. As John mentioned too, that we have our buying plan. You can download it, but you can also pick it up off that wall over there. And also on that wall is a bid opening sheet that tells you what's currently out to bid. So that way, the buying plan is projected, I believe, through the third quarter of 2018. The bid opening sheet tells you what's currently out to bid, so you can bid those requirements.
Okay, we'll switch. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about the public affairs group of the team. So as you can see on our mission statement that's on the wall, some of our guiding principles are integrity, public trust in the law. Transparency is also really big for our department. If you look at the logo that we have going on, how the letters are kind of transparent over each other, that's something that's really important to our department. We try to be as transparent as possible. And with that said, some of our initiatives and the long-range portion include the buying plan, as we've mentioned several times today, which is a 15-month forecast. That's kind of the long-range transparency that we try to seek out with the public. We also have our weekly transparency, which we do through our DPS alerts, which we do every Monday. We send out information to the public. If you sign up for DPS alerts, we put our bid opportunity list online weekly as well. So we have the long range with the buying plan, the weekly range with our DPS alerts, and then our daily range, which is through our social media pages and our handles. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, and we have our YouTube channel. The handles we have on all three of those are Chicago DPS. We upload information and share with the public on a daily basis through our social media. So we encourage you to definitely follow us if you have social media through that way. We also encourage you to attend our pre-bid conferences, as mentioned various times here. It's a really good opportunity for you to meet other prime contractors or potentially other subcontractors that you might seek out in within your bid. We also wanted to mention we host and attend over 100 events through the city of Chicago. So it's really important for us to do community outreach with everyone. We have 2 main conferences throughout the year. Our first main one is called our Construction Summit. That's usually around February, March, and then our second larger, and that one is more geared towards construction. Our second one is our Vendor Fair, and that is usually around May of each year. So those are our 2 main events that we host as a city, outside of attending over 100 events on our own through the community. And our next workshops that we have, as mentioned again, is our Introduction to E-Procurement, which is tomorrow, same room at 2:30. And then we have 2 workshops back-to-back next Wednesday. That is at 2 o'clock in the same room, Bid and Bond Room 103. The 2 o'clock class is the How to Become Certified. So if you're not certified and you want more information on how to become certified, that's our class. And then right after that, we have a 3:15 workshop, which is doing business with the city of Chicago, and that's taught by our legal team that teaches you what are rules and regulations on how to do business with us. So those are the various type of ways that we try to incorporate our public affairs team and get the outreach with the community. So thank you.
Okay.
Laws next.
Thank you. I actually saved the legal unit for last because I think we're probably the people you're going to see the least, and that's, I think, a good thing. What do? We're really behind the scenes. We advise the Chief Procurement Officer on local, state, and federal law. All of them can apply to the spend by the City of Chicago. We advise the managing staff that works under the Chief Procurement Officer. We advise frontline staff members on questions on a daily basis. So we're advisory in one way. We can be involved in disputes. Dispute resolution takes up increasingly a number of hours of our time. Disputes, protests, there's a whole workshop again on disputes and protests within the context of procurement fundamentals and doing business with the city of Chicago. But basically, sometimes there's disagreements about whether or not contracts should have been awarded to one vendor or another, so we get involved in resolving those disputes. Sometimes there's disputes over a vendor delivering a good or service to a city department, and maybe there's a disagreement about whether it's what the city actually was supposed to get by way of contract, and so there can be disputes over that. There can be disputes over payments. We try to get involved in a way that keeps healthy business relationships between the city and vendors, and then if there is a need to take action if a vendor is just not acting in a responsible way. John mentioned, I think, first, vendors have to be responsive, give us what we want the way we want it, according to contract, and they have to be responsible, presently capable of delivering those things we want. And so we want to make sure we have responsible vendors in the community, and so we get involved in that process. To a whole other extreme, where I hope we never see anybody in this room, we get involved with the Inspector General's office on investigations, and ultimately there are occasions where we debar vendors. That's where you can take administrative action to exclude a vendor for a period of time up to permanent debarment based on a number of types of conduct, including fraud and other criminal offenses. So those are the extremes that we get involved in. We also get involved, as I'm here today, in workshops, and that's the good side of it. We enjoy as a unit participating with other managers in the Procurement Services Department on spreading the word about procurement policies, procedures, and laws, and educating the vendor community. Because a healthy vendor community means better competition, and the principle behind competitive procurement is that good competition gets the city the best prices for its tax dollars. So that's the legal unit in a nutshell. I think, Irma, we are going to open up to questions and answers.
So I'll walk around with the mic so we can hear your question, and Terry will share his lapel with everyone on stage. Does anyone have any questions? No? All right. Oh, one question.
This is for Benjamin. I'm sorry, I missed the reason for completion of the online economic disclosure statement.
So the online economic disclosure statement is required to be submitted with all bids and RFPs. The purpose of it is to make several disclosures. One is of your ownership and control of the company, and then you'll be disclosing contract-specific information such as the subs you will be using. And then the third disclosure is actually in the area of certifications, not MWB certifications, but you are certifying that you are in legal compliance with a number of laws and ordinances that govern procurement in the city of Chicago.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I got to apologize to Mr. Glavin. I was in the back over there taking some paperwork.
Oh, no,
No problem at all. Anyway, Mrs. Wright, I wanted to ask you a question. Like if you have to hire somebody, do they have to have the residency here? You know, like for a subcontractor when you need help, because I'm all by myself with that safety thing.
Yeah, subcontractors have to be in the 6 regions, counties of Chicago.
Good. All right,
That's
bless
good.
you guys, thanks. Good to see you.
You too.
Any other questions?
So my name is Krishna. I represent Innopass. So we are a startup firm now focusing more on the IT development and the robotics. And since it is a startup firm, I was going through some of the RFP process. The qualification criteria are very stringent. What is your recommendation for a startup to be part of the RFP process?
Well, I do recommend, I'll give it to you, but I do recommend the certification. If you just started, I do recommend certification so that you can even qualify as a sub. And I do have to say you don't have to be certified to be on a contract or to bid on a contract. If it's a small contract of $10,000 or $20,000 and you think you can handle that alone, you would be considered the prime. But if it was a $20 million contract or a $50 million contract and you can't bid alone, then you can qualify as a sub as long as you're certified. So as a startup, I do recommend it. And like I said, it's a good time to do the certification because you're not bogged down with paperwork that you can't find or information that you don't have. If you don't have something, there are a lot of qualifications that you have to turn in different paperwork. But if you don't have it, you have to submit something in writing saying, I don't have it because. Or if you don't have 3 years of tax returns, you have to say, I don't have 3 years because I've only been in business 1 year. Or if you don't have staff or personnel, you have to put it in writing, I don't have staff. So if you don't have it, it doesn't mean you don't qualify. So I do recommend it. Did anybody else? Did you have?
Yes. As Victoria said, you don't have to necessarily be certified with the City of Chicago or Cook County in order to partner. You can still be involved if you see an IT project that is in your area of expertise. Maybe you review the requirements, the scope for that project and say, well, you know, we're not comfortable maybe submitting as a prime for the entire scope, but you may want to look at partnering either as a joint venture partner or maybe as a sub-consultant to a prime that is responding. So a couple tips for you as a startup. Just because you're a startup, or if you feel, well, we're small, we don't have a lot of resources yet, you're still building your business. And I think the City of Chicago, what we're trying to do is encourage competition and business opportunities where you can build your business. So a couple tips. I mentioned the buying plan, which is a forecast of upcoming projects for the next 12 to 15 months. Anything that's an IT project, typically the lead department is going to be Department of Innovation and Technology. The acronym is DOIT. So in the buying plan, you'll want to look to see the DOIT projects that are planned. And I can tell you, because I deal with that department every day, every week, they have a lot of initiatives on the table. And take a look once it's advertised. And the second tip that I have for you is networking. Get out there. You know, I mentioned the pre-submittal conference. Whether it's a bid or an RFP, RFQ, we have a pre-submittal. It's an opportunity at those sessions where you can network with firms. And specifically, it's for an IT solicitation that's in your area. And, you know, there's a wide range of, you know, IT, it's a big area. So I think you have to target the solicitations that seem to best fit what you're looking for. And rather than just going to the pre-submittal conference, actually go to our website where you can open and view the solicitation, read the scope of services, and determine, is this something that is in our area where we feel that we can compete or that we want to partner, team. So that would be my suggestion. You know, we welcome everyone at the pre-submittal conference, and I can tell you from years of experience, you're IT, but you know, we do financial service. You can have a company that has one or two people that, for example, they're CPAs, and they do audits. Well, you can get excellent customer service, and you can get quality work done by a small firm if the qualifications of the resources can do the job. So I wouldn't get hung up in, you know, I'm small, medium, large, because even if you're small, remember, you can always partner, be part of a team. You can submit as a prime. You can also partner with others. You know, you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket. Just get out there, market your business, and that would be my suggestion. Sure.
You mentioned you were in IT. Since I also work at that department on a regular basis, I would add one more suggestion for you, which is, John alluded earlier to master consulting agreements.
Yeah.
The large bulk of smaller projects that you may be interested in are not actually advertised as RFPs. They are advertised as task order requests being bid to these master consulting agreement pools. Now, one of these days, when that pool becomes open, you need to watch the buying plan for that. Then I would urge you to compete to be in that pool. However, I believe that there sometimes are subcontracting opportunities in that pool. Is that correct, John? Sure. So that it behooves you to network with the existing members of that pool. You can see who they are on the city website. If you type in the specification number for that master consulting agreement, it will give you a list of all the existing incumbent vendors who have master consulting agreements. If you network with them and let them know of the services that you may offer, it is possible that you may be on a team when they propose in response to a task order request. So that would be the other thing I would do if I was a startup.
I'm sorry. I also wanted to add, John brought up how important the pre-submittal conferences are. For A&E, we can often have close to 100 people show up. If for some reason you could not attend, the city posts the attendees for the pre-submittal conference list online. And if you need help navigating, just give me a ring. My number is 312-744-6118, 312-744-6118. Thanks.
I was going to sort of piggyback on what Ed said, and it's not just for IT, but on our website there's a bid takeout list for any bid that goes out. So anybody who picks up a bid on our website, they have to give their business card. So if it's something that you might not be able to bid on alone, it goes back to transparency. You can either see the people as your competition, so you'll know who's going to bid against you or possibly bid against you, or you can use that list to collaborate with someone else. So if it's a big contract and over 20 people come and take out the information, they have to give us their information, and that information is on our website for you to check. So you can decide if you want to see who you're competing against, or if this is somebody you want to call to find out if you can collaborate with them. The other thing on our website, and I want to say there's a class on how to navigate our website because there's so much information on the website, but you can also see contracts on our website. So if you do landscaping or you do IT, you might want to see who already has an IT a contract, or who already has a landscaping contract. You can find out what that contract was, the dollar amount was for. You can see what they bid, and you can find out when that contract is going to end. So it might not end right on that date because it might be in they call it amendment, John?
Yes.
If it it could go further, but it gives you the opportunity to see what they did so that you can know what you might need to do when it's time for you to bid. So that goes for any industry. So I do recommend how to navigate the DPS website, but if you ever have questions on how to find something on our website, you can call the 744-4900 number. You can attend the workshop, but it does all go back to networking and letting people know who you are. I teach a class is I'm certified now what, and I always tell people to make sure you have good business cards. You have a capability statement. I go out a lot to events and people give me cards, and when I get back, I can't tell what they do because it might just say Smith and Company, and I'm just using that. But if you can't tell what the person does by looking at their card, people are not going to keep that card. It's good to have a capability statement. A capability statement tells people what you do, what jobs maybe you've done in the past. It could have pictures, you know, if you just started, it could be a one-pager. If you've been in business 20 years, it could be a little book. You can have them done at Staples. Those are always good to have when you're networking, especially when you go out to events. And I always tell people, don't stop with the City of Chicago. There's so many other government agencies that have contracts. We do have those listed on our website, on the front, on the homepage of our website on the right-hand side. And everybody has a different procurement process. So you have to learn the different procurement processes. What the City of Chicago does might not be the same as CPS. It's not the same as CTA. It's not the same as CHA. So if you're interested in any of those other agencies, you have to learn their procurement process. And I always tell people, don't forget about hospitals, don't forget about universities, don't forget about city colleges. All these people have programs. Most of them have diversity programs. So you have to do your research.
So one more question. Is there any formal forum for companies like us, you know, where a small company to collaborate with the Prime? Is there any?
No, and I guess everybody agrees.
I understand that you have to call them up and find out.
Yeah, that's up
Prime,
to you.
No, as a subcontractor.
Yes, we recommend
Is there any forum
that
DPS organize where we can come and collaborate and demonstrate our experience and capability?
Well, that's why when you go to the events, sometimes some events have primes there. So I know aviation has they have an event maybe quarterly where they bring their primes to UIC, and you can talk to the primes to find out what kind of subs they're looking for. But when you go out to network, that's where that capability statement comes in handy, because your goal is to get a meeting. You can't do it in that room. Yeah. So your goal is to get their information, give them your information, and you need to sit down in that office or their office. They're not going to come to you, but you need to go to get a meeting with them to go to their office, because you can't make a deal at the table. But you want to make a good first impression when you go to these events. I always tell people in my class, show up on time. Nobody's going to think that you're a professional if they set up a meeting with you and you don't show up on time. If you don't show up professional, if you don't show up with a capability statement or a resume and work that you've already completed, you know, first impressions matter.
Okay, so I have my last question. Apart from the RFP process, you know, I understand that DPS runs all the RFP process, you know, for City of Chicago. Is there any platform for a startup company to come and demonstrate our innovative ideas? Any platform, any you know, especially on the IT side?
Everything is, unlike some of the sister agencies which may have a small orders process where there is not competitive bidding required, the city is fully competitive bidding for everything, or an evaluative process. There are no, well, you know, it's a small contract under 10,000. We like you, we'll hire you. Some places have that, we don't have that. So.
Goes back to doing your homework.
And I will mention one more thing. So we had our vendor fair this past May, and one of the initiatives we had this year was our first year. We had a Primes Connect session, matchmaking session, where we were featuring 20 prime contractors that do business not just with the city, but with our sister agencies, which include CHA, CTA, CPS. So this was the first year we had that integrated into one of our main events. And it went pretty well, so that if that's something, and like you mentioned, what's a forum, it was pretty successful this year, so we're pretty sure we might probably incorporate Primes Connect and feature it at our vendor fair next year as well.
Okay, so there is no expectation for Prime to have one or two subcontracting companies when they bid for that.
They have to have sub. If it's a set aside on the contract, they do have to have a sub. But it's up to you to convince them to make you the sub, or make any of you in the room the sub. Because we do get people saying that they use the same sub all the time. But if you don't get in front of them to convince them that you should be the sub, of course, they're going to use the same sub.
The only other comment I'm going to make is there is another method that the city will use, but it's really not a method of procurement that doesn't lead to selecting a vendor for a formal contract, but it's called an RFI, a request for information, and occasionally you will see that advertised, and what that is really to glean information about innovations, technology in the industry, and what the city is attempting to do is gather information to develop city requirements for a future solicitation. It could be detailed specifications for a bid, or it could be for a future RFP. Doesn't lead to a contract. There are no terms and conditions. But sometimes the RFI, and I'll give you an example, several years ago, the police department wanted to learn more about the in-car dash video cam technologies. And you know, there's a wide gamut of technologies and possibilities there. And so we advertised an RFI, and part of the RFI had a stipulation that you had to sign a pilot test agreement, which is a city agreement, terms and conditions, and you have to provide an insurance certificate. And basically, whatever your response was to our questionnaire, which is the request for information, you would have to agree to the terms of the pilot test, provide insurance at no cost to the city, and then over a 60, 90-day period, whatever the test period is, they would look at your technology. So we had the various technologies installed in squad cars, and they had a whole evaluation of that. And long story short, it led to developing city requirements, you know, of what we wanted for Chicago and a future competitive bid. And then it was installed, that technology, and the entire fleet of squad cars. So also consider, you may see occasionally an RFI, request for information, out there, and it could be IT related.
And also when you go to the vendor fairs, you can have your company's catalog or introductory booklet that can highlight and explain your talents and professionalism and your experience and your resources and discipline, what kind of projects you can do for IT. You know, that should be very colored and charts and, you know, consisting of your staffing and your past experience if you have any.
Okay, so that's what.
Yeah.
I understand. So that's what, because if there is an opportunity to demonstrate some of the ideas that what we have.
And other contractors you meet with, they will look at your catalog and your performance and your talents, professional experience, and you know, they will definitely discuss more about your firm, and you can participate in those contracts they might have or they might be getting at.
Thank you. Right.
Yes, you're welcome.
Another workshop that I forgot to mention, Victoria had said how the city procures for the city of Chicago and our 20 plus something city departments. We also have our sister agencies who are CTA, CHA, there's various of them, it's 7 of them. So this year we launched a new workshop called Working with Our Sister Agencies, how to do business with our sister agencies. We've already kicked it off. I think we have our final one this fall. So if you'd like to go back and watch that, they're on our YouTube video, our YouTube channel. And we've had each one of our sister agencies come and provide this type of a workshop to the audience to teach them and show them kind of how to do business and procurement with them as well. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap us up. We have less than a minute left. So thank you, everyone. We're going to go offline, and if you'd like to stay around and ask our participants any more questions, you're free to do so. So thank you so much.
I'll be upstairs.
Please come. Yes, okay.